Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, happy 2021 everybody, hopefully this year's not gonna suck, but even if it does, don't worry, we've got Sonic the Hedgehog here to save the day. We'll use the power of the time stones to warp back the clock and, make a good future. If only, but anyway, this is Sonic CD, and, well, you dudes and dudettes are probably in for a bit of a treat if you're Sonic fans, which is pretty much anybody who's even watching this channel. Yes, indeedy, we're going to be taking a look at Sonic CD, and shortly after that, Sonic and Knuckles, with two of which are I'd say they're pretty much my go-to Mega Drive Sonic games, when it boils down to it, and yeah, as you can tell here, we're going to be taking a look at the Sega CD version. Or are we? Doo-doo-doo! Well, yeah, we'll see as we go on, because we also get to witness this anime cutscene by Toei Animation. And yeah, compressed and, like, stilted as the frame rate might be for this, I actually kind of prefer the Sega CD version of the cutscenes rather than the Sonic Jam / like, Mega Collection version. Mainly because of the fact that I really like the richer color palette, and it also has, like, a few visual effects that are missing from the, I guess, the uncompressed, anime version. I don't know. I just have a preference for this one, to be honest. Also, I swear to god, like, this song, I swear to god, like, when I was younger, this song was, like, Super Sonic Warrior, but no, it's, Toot Toot Sonic Warrior. And before anybody else, the real name of the song is You Can Do Anything, not Toot Toot Sonic Warrior, you toot toot fucking pussy. Well, I've got a lot of anger in me. But yeah, this is Sonic CD, and, again, as you could no doubt tell by the intro screen, we're actually going to be taking a look at the Japanese soundtrack. Well, I am doing something a little bit interesting with this commentary, but, yeah, in hindsight, I probably should have alternated between the two soundtracks before we do anything else, but yeah. So, Sonic CD, what is it? And what is this? Okay, that's enough Resident Evil things. But anyway, this is basically Sonic the Hedgehog as you know and love it, but with the power of CD technology. 2D platformer, I mean, bear in mind this was 1993. And now we also seem to have a time travel gimmick. We have past, future signs. And again, go at a fast enough speed, maintain that speed, and make sure you don't get interrupted during it, and... Whoa, 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 whoa! All those extra frames of animation and trippy backdrops. And, boom, we've traveled back through time, to the mysterious lands of the past. But anyway, to give a bit of story context of the intro screen, couldn't clue you in, basically, Dr. Eggman is mystified by the fascination of Little Planet, which is this mysterious planet that only appears, I believe it's every few years or so. But anyway, Sonic decided to show up there just to take a gander at the place, because bear in mind he's a traveler and likes seeing new things. And of course, when he saw Eggman had enslaved the planet and had imprisoned it with his robots, it's basically up to him to stop it. But pretty simple setup, all things considered, and, well yeah, you basically have to stop Dr. Eggman from conquering the planet. And you can stop him in one of two ways, the first of which is collecting the time stones, which are, you know, ancient gemstones that have the ability to basically prevent Eggman from traveling back in time and doing the plot all over again, or you destroy the robot generators, which is what you saw before, so ostensibly you stop him from colonizing the planet. If Eggman does end up colonizing the little planet, then it basically becomes like a twisted hellscape version, which is what you're going to be seeing in the next stage. Or, if you end up traveling back into the past, as you're seeing right here, it's a more naturized version of it. And if you go back to the present, well, you basically get the good future, which is basically a more of a harmonious union between technology and, nature, which is actually quite beautiful looking. Because, I mean, if there's one thing about Sonic CD that I absolutely love, it's visual design. Like, I mean, it's not my ideal, for Sonic. Again, I kind of prefer how some later games in the 3D era would have interpreted the visuals, but I mean, I do have to say that I do really like how Sonic CD looks. Like, I mean, it's very vibrant, very lively, but, like, not childishly so, like, I mean, this doesn't have a patch on something like Sonic Lost World, which looks, how you say, kinda kappa shit. But again, as you can see here with the trippy excuse me. As you can see here with the trippy special stages, it looks, well, very vibrant, very dreamlike. Again, it's very distinctive and iconic, and I quite like it. And again, to get into the special stages, again, you basically enter this sort of Mode 7 style arena, smash the UFOs, and do so before running out of time. Don't enter the water because then your time will drain significantly for some reason, and well, I mean, I suppose to say anything else about it, this is probably my second favorite special stage style in the entire Sonic series, just right behind the Blue Sphere from Sonic 3, and just a little bit above the Chase the UFO thing from Sonic Mania. I don't know, I really... Like, I mean, as much as I'm gonna bitch about, you know, Sonic 2's half-pipe design being utterly fucking terrible, one thing that I will always defend is Blue Sphere and, the UFO stuff. Like, I mean, thank goodness for Sonic Mania for having its own take on the Sonic CD concept, because, whew, boy, if we had to deal with Half-Pipe or the sleep-inducing Sonic 4 fuck around and roll and magic dream sleepland, I would have been angry. But alas, just smash all the UFOs and make sure you don't run out of time, as we came so close to doing here. And boom, you have a time stone. Collect all of them, and you will secure the good ending. Again, unfortunately, unlike the Chaos Emeralds, you don't transform into Super Sonic, but you know what, I don't think that's really all that necessary, because the Super Sonic to me was always more of a bonus more than anything, and yes, this is also something I'm going to be showing off. The game looks a lot better here for some reason. And that's because this is the Christian Whitehead port of Sonic CD that came out around 2011. I did bring this up in the review, I didn't... Actually, no, I don't think I did, aside from maybe some brief footage of Tails that I... Did I edit that in? No, I really need to rewatch that review again, but again, I'll probably confirm in the next part, depending on whether or not. Anyway, this is the Christian Whitehead port. Collision detection is a lot better than the original Sega CD version, uses the uncompressed anime the uncompressed anime footage, and allows you to choose between American and Japanese soundtracks, which are two completely different beasts that we'll be covering at a later date. But anyway, this is the bad future. Again, as you can see here, the nature's kind of died down a little bit, everything looks a bit more mechanized, and well, in my experience, you don't really see a lot of videos covering the bad futures. Like, I mean, the game requires you, in order to get the best ending, that you have to time travel into the past and achieve a good future, which means, yeah, if you're getting into the bad futures, you're kind of doing it wrong, unless, of course, you want to get the bad ending. So again, I figured to pay lip service to, you know, the bad future parts of Sonic CD, which I do think have a bit of an artistic beauty in and of themselves. I'm going to be showing the first stage, you know, with the, you know, the present and the good future, and then show Act 2 being the, well, bad future, just to give it a little bit more screen time, as well as to show some of the bad future soundtracks, which, again, as I said in the review, are some of my favourite soundtracks from the game, so, yeah, we get to listen to some pretty nice soundtracks. And again, we have more special stages, which are significantly less trippy than this, but I don't know. This is pretty much going to be how I'm handling the Sonic CD commentary, so to speak, just flipping back and forth between the two versions, and just commenting on differences and other little fun facts between this. And I suppose the fact that I'm also covering this and Sonic & Knuckles shortly thereafter is mainly because, well, given that 2021 is the anniversary year, and I can imagine that we're probably going to be getting some new news on the 30th anniversary game, if there even is one, well, let's just say that I foresee some of my thoughts being a little bit cynical. Well, I mean, again, I don't know, but at this point in my life, I don't think the series really sits right with me, and I guess just consider this me wanting to have some last positive memories of the Sonic series, unless, of course, I turn absolutely cynical, because, I mean, as you probably heard many years ago in the Sonic Adventure commentary, and a couple of others here and there where I sounded a little bit more dour and cynical, yeah, not really a good point at this stage, but anyway, I'm getting off topic. When it comes, again, since this was also developed simultaneously with Sonic the Hedgehog 2, some design decisions have been a little bit topsy-turvy, which also includes the 3-act structure, and I don't mean that in terms of story, I mean that mainly in terms of just stages. Like, I mean, you have 2 acts, then you have a boss act, and that's pretty much what this one serves to be. Like, I mean, it's just a short prelude to the boss, and well, while this isn't exactly a good example, I do kind of like Sonic CD's bosses. I really think the series could use more of them. They had this really inventive vibe about them. And again, this is the proper way to take down Dr. Eggman's rather silly-looking mech. Like, I mean, again, since this was developed by Sega of Japan, for the most part, rather than Sega of America with a lot of Sega of Japan stuff, like in Sonic 2, again, you get a lot of very abstract and goofy Japanese shit for the bosses, and well, let's just say that Sonic CD is no stranger to just completely introducing wacky concepts. I don't really know what to make of it personally, because, I mean, I think it is kind of an interesting dichotomy just to see what Japanese mentalities were in regards to the series compared to, you know, America. I mean, again, I don't think a lot of it really matters now, since, you know, continuities have somewhat merged. Well, again, I'll save that for later. Look, it's Pink Sonic and Drag, otherwise known as Amy. For some reason, she was kidnapped, and well, that was rather pointless again. I suppose to explain Amy's whole deal, basically she read some tarot cards because she had an interest in tarot, and it foresaw her meeting with Sonic, which is why she ran all the way over to Little Planet and basically got kidnapped by Metal Sonic. And thus she basically exists to be Pink Sonic and Drag, really, which is simultaneously at least to a lot of people, simultaneously the biggest praise and, like, I guess negatives of the game, because, I mean, Amy doesn't really add much to the game as a whole, it's basically just adding to the cast, really. So, To be honest, I think Sonic Adventure did a lot more with Amy than anything in Sonic CD. And I'm supposed to also talk about it, Metal Sonic. Basically, evil robot Sonic, which wouldn't really get any development until Heroes, and even then that was kind of undone by a lot of future games that just turned him back to evil Robo-Sonic without much personality. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, but yeah. I mean, I don't know, like, I mean, I'm not gonna blame Sonic CD for any of these sorts of decisions, it's just more so going forward into the series where I feel my disappointment lies, because, I mean, Sonic CD in and of itself, it's basically what Sonic was on the Mega Drive, but, you know, just with the added power of CD technology, which, I suppose to a lot of people, this is what their ideal Sonic 4, for the lack of a better phrase, should have been. But, I mean, I don't know, I do have points of contention with calling stuff like Sonic Mania the true Sonic 4, or what have you, because it just seems to be a little bit more of a cynical hindsight kind of reasoning. I don't know. It's just one of those things about fan culture that gets me a bit grouchy in me old britches. Oof. Arc. Whatever. But anyway, this is, Collision Chaos in the past. With this, like, fucking, like, PBS schoolchildren style fucking, like, dinosaur theme song. Like, I half expect some cheesy fucking host dude to be all like, "Hello there, children. Be careful of the dinosaurs, cause we're going back to Jurassic Land. Do. I don't know, just, there's a kind of vibe about it to me. I mean, I will say that I'm not really for, well, I like both soundtracks, American and Japanese, but I mean, I will admit, comparing the two soundtracks, like, the Japanese one is definitely a little bit more, like, poppy, for the lack of a better phrase. I do also have a lot of fondness for the American soundtrack, because, like, I mean, it was designed to be very, like, atmospheric, and, again, in hindsight, I probably should have used that for the Bad Future tracks to differentiate the two, but, I mean, regardless of such, it's still pretty good stuff all around, really. I mean, I think more people tend to prefer the Japanese soundtrack just because it's a little bit more, I guess, poppy and accessible, but, fun fact, actually, the reason why it was changed in, you know, the American releases is for one of two reasons, really. The first of which is because I believe the American Sega CD actually had had something called Red Book Audio, which means you can basically just swap out the audio and have different variations for specific tracks, whereas the ones for... fuck, what was it called again? Yeah, the Japanese version didn't, and I guess also because of the fact that it also resembled some pop music that was coming out at the time. I mean, I tried listening to a couple of, like, examples of some of the sort of music that was coming out at the time that would have been resembling Sonic CD, and I guess kinda, but who knows. I mean, then again, I guess it's also sort of easy to judge this as one of the more, well, slightly obscure Sonic games, not really anymore since it's reviewed as a classic era, and the classic era is Jesus. But, like, I mean, especially at the time, given that the Sega CD kind of went down in history as this, like, failed add-on console kind of thing, I don't know, it just kind of makes you wonder what the problem was. Although, then again, this wasn't a time before the PS1, N64, or Sega Saturn, so... who knows, really. Well, then I suppose the Sega CD was also in contention with the Jaguar and TurboGrafx and a bunch of other consoles, so who knows, really. But again, to comment on the art design for the Bad Future stages in places like this, I don't know, like, there's a lot of art and beauty on display, and, like, I mean... And, like, I mean, it's using, like, a lot of casino-ish themes, but at the same time, it also feels... I don't know, like, it has this, like, very dark, cyberpunk sort of futuristic vibe about it that I kind of love, man. I mean, at the risk of beating a dead horse here, this is the kind of art design that I think would have been more beneficial in a game like Sonic Forces, given that game, but I'm not going to waste any more time on Forces. It's outdated, and, well, even though it's the last main series Sonic game we've had in a while, it's, proven to be irrelevant even at this point, really, because it's been all in one since we really had any Sonic, thing, unless some news in recent times ends up, spoiling that, between the time in which I record this and the time in which I get to uploading it. But anyway, this is the main, gimmick of Collision Chaos. Pinball across things. Sure hope this isn't used for a boss fight, tee-hee hoddle-ha. I was supposed to comment a little bit more about the level design in and of itself. Like, I mean, this isn't quite as speed-focused as Sonic 2 or Sonic 3. Again, this one is very much, again, I wouldn't say entirely platformer focused, but it is a game that I think tests your verticality, and is one that actually ends up using a lot of the momentum-based physics towards the advantage, because again, like, you see like a lot of like, what's the term for it? Like a lot of half-pipe structures which you can use to boost yourself up to new heights. And again, it's a very interesting method in which, I guess Naoto Oshima and Yuji Naka ended up taking from the previous game's design. Because, I mean, as I said before, like, I mean, this was developed by two different teams. Sonic CD specifically was the Sonic team in Sega of Japan, whereas Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was developed by Sega of America with Sonic team members, you know, who were in America for a brief period of time, before eventually returning to Japan for, I believe it was, Burning Rangers, I think, or was it Knights? Kinda lose the chronology there, but the point is, yeah, two different design sensibilities, and I guess this is also where the two fathers of Sonic, so to speak, began to differ in terms of where they wanted to take the game. I mean, Yuji Naka kind of always had a bit of a beef with Sega, which, I mean, looking at the series nowadays, I can kind of see why. But I mean, to put it in another perspective, again, I think Yuji Naka probably had more of an action kind of sensibility about it, whereas it seems that Naoto Oshima had a little bit more of like a, well, like more of a dreamscape fantasy, whereas Yuji Naka was a little bit more American action, which I guess explains why Sonic 3 has a lot more, you know, action-packed set pieces, whereas Sonic CD is a little bit more of a, I'd say is a little bit more of a pure Sonic game. Like, I mean, there's not a lot of set pieces, but it does have a lot of moments which feel a little bit more pure in terms of gameplay. I don't know, I suppose it's a very weird dichotomy in which the two tend to interact with each other. And back again, sorry about that, I just had a delicious meal, and I had to stop recording for a second. Anyway, I completely forgot what tangent I was on, but let's do a bit of Skully trivia, because initially I wasn't going to do Sonic, I was instead going to be doing Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, the PS2 beat-em-up game, which I was initially going to be doing for commentaries. Instead, I found out that I didn't really have much to say, and or at least not stuff that probably would have been better saved for an Episode 3 movie commentary, so yeah, that kind of fell by the wayside, and that's why I did this little Sonic thing right here, so yeah. And so on and so forth. You can actually get the time stones relatively quickly if, you know, you maintain your ring count. Again, I'll probably get into the different, well, if I didn't talk about them already, my brain is a bit frazzled. But in any case, Collusion Chaos boss fight, probably one of the more contentious elements, because, I mean, while I do like Sonic CD's more unique boss fights, by the way, I swear to God, the music right here before we get to the boss theme sounds a lot like the Egg Reverie. Like, I don't know, I hear a lot of the whole, like, dun, 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 which you hear in the final zone of Sonic Mania. A bit weird, but whatever. And again, as I was saying before in terms of the Sonic City bosses, I do like it for having more inventive bosses, but this is also an example of one that's a little bit, how you say, crap. And by which I mean you're basically at the mercy of pinball physics, and, well, it's not the best, because you find yourself getting knocked every which way and sideways. Again, the boss, I think at this point only takes like a couple of hits to get there. Again, the real challenge here is just getting to the boss, which is slightly annoying, but, yeah. I mean, the real threat is just those spikes down at the bottom. Other than that, it's just being at the mercy of pinball physics, so it's a precursor to Sonic Spinball, which is, kinda Kappa feces. There you go, and that's pretty much the hardest part of the boss over, and that's pretty much it. And so on that note, I am Solidus-Skully, keep it new metal, and, see you dudes and dudettes next time for more Sonic CD antics. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. Happy New Year, everybody!